welcome to the Brie Pod. You're here with me, Brie. So I know that it has been quite a while since I have last shared a podcast, and I thought, why not do a basically an update on where I'm at since having jaw surgery. I will say this. Hold on. Sorry. I will say this that if you're wondering why I had to have jaw surgery, there are a few episodes that you can go back to that kind of explains it a little bit deeper. Um, because scientifically speaking, I cannot tell you the terminology. I can't even say the words of what they did uh in a science realm, but what I basically can say is the very simple explanation of what happened, which is my lower jaw was further back than my top jaw. And so when I would bite down, the bite was further back. And then on top of that, I had an overbite and underbite, and the teeth were kind of moved slightly in a crooked way on the bottom and the top. On the top, my two front teeth were so protruded out that it was considered in the horrible term of buck teeth. I don't know if there's a better term for it, but that's what I remember people saying all the time to me. So, um, that's what I had. With that being said, today I wanted to dive into the journey of transformation and kind of like how it led to me to present day. So, I would say that this experience has been probably one of the most challenging, revealing, and yet ultimately transformative parts of my life. Because it's a story not just about the physical change, um, but also the sense of everything that went with it. When I decided to go through with jaw surgery, it wasn't because I wanted to change my appearance. Um, Although the aesthetic results are a really nice bonus, I made this decision because I was facing some potential health issues for the future. And this was like a proactive way for me to kind of de like not have to deal with those issues. Even though you would think from what I just described to you that I would have wanted it to be full-blown aesthetic reasons, um, I really had no interest in surgery at all. And the only reason why I went forward with surgery was because of speaking with my dentist and having her tell me, and this was the third opinion at this point in my life. This was not like a one and done opinion. It took me a while to even get to this place. I was told in 2017 that I should get surgery. I did not make this decision to do it until 2022 and then 2024 being the actual um, surgery time. So that's a lot of time before this process actually happened. Many people did think that I just did it for aesthetics, so I've been told, well, you should appreciate what God gave you, and I've been told a lot of different things, but it was for health reasonings, and I really didn't like the idea of my teeth falling out sooner than they needed to, as well as they had said, had more of a chance of having sleep apnea. I had more of a chance of other things that would have given me problems in the future. So it was a good decision. Um, Again, it's not to say that I'm not loving the aesthetic side because it is nice. It is nice to I never thought this would happen ever. I mean, I remember looking at the mirror and I remember looking at myself and thinking I don't understand why I look this way. Um, but I just never thought that it could be something that could be changed, I guess. So let's go back to the decision of the change, right? When I made this choice, I spent months researching. I spent time consulting with different people on like the surgeons on what they would do, what it would help for me. And like I said, the idea of undergoing a major surgery that would be something that would alter my face would have felt very intimidating. But deep down, I knew this choice was more about than how I looked, and it was about preventing the health issues. And I still remember my very first thought coming out of surgery. It was, wow, I can actually breathe better. And that was a very powerful moment for me because it confirmed I had made the right choice. And it's something that I didn't really know that I was missing. Like I didn't realize the impact of what I guess that even how instant that impact was from the surgery. And it did kind of make me laugh. And I say this in that ironic sense, not because it's funny, but the last time I had a pretty serious surgery was for laparoscopic surgery. And this is because I also have endometriosis. And there was a time where I actually had a very hard time of having a baby. It was very hard to even conceive a child. So I had to go through the surgery in hopes that it would help, in hopes that maybe this is why I'm unable to have a baby because I have always had a lot of struggles when it comes to my, oh my goodness, mom brain is so bad right now. I want to say ovary system, but that's just anyway, I've had a lot of struggles with uh the reproductive system. I don't know. I don't know why I can't say the word right now. But anyway, point is that I have many podcast episodes prior to this explaining that. So we're not going like deep into that. But I remember one of the thoughts that I had coming out of that surgery was, oh man, can I go back and not have the surgery at all? And it had nothing to do with what the surgery did for me, because what it did do is it gave me a name or a term to what was happening and what was wrong with me. But also, I do think it paved a little bit more of a way for me to have a child. Um, but it was so funny that the first thought coming out was, can I like go back? And then with the jaw surgery, it was I can breathe because that was my worry. I'm like, what if I wake up and I'm regretful of having it? Because I do remember, and I have it, like I said in the previous podcast episodes, where going through the laparoscopic surgery was very hard. It was mentally, physically, like it takes a toll. And I think sometimes people don't realize that, like when you have something so big or major when it comes to surgeries, and maybe it could be small too, the toll that it takes, it's not just physical. It is also emotionally exhausting and emotionally takes over. And I mean, so many things happen during that time, and people see the beauty. They see like, oh, you went from this point to this point, you look amazing, but you don't see or hear or feel the parts that are in between that. Um, and I'm not trying to make it like oh, poor me or woe is me. I just need to share it because if other people are doing this, they need to know that the transformation is not just physical. The transformation is also mentally overbearing sometimes, mentally draining, emotionally, you're up, you're down, you're all over. And there's just so many things that come with the big and I'm not just talking about just for transformation purposes. I'm even talking about people that have surgery because they need to get mobility again or things like that. Like just the to get from A to B, um, that's it takes a lot. So I think that's why I wanted to come back and share this update on my recovery because now that I'm on the other side, I feel like it's another way for me to give a perspective of where I was and where I am and how it was up and down and up and down, basically like a roller coaster ride. Um, so one thing I'll say is that over these 9 months, because it's been 9 months since I've had the surgery, I've learned that transformation isn't about the destination. And I say this that it's about the journey itself. Because there were days I wanted to rush the process. I wanted to have everything feel normal again. But this experience showed me that real change takes time, and that's okay. Each day of recovery, I grew a little stronger, a little more resilient. I found strength within myself that I didn't know I had. And I learned that transformation is about trusting the process, even on the hardest days, which let me tell you, there were some hard days. I also learned to appreciate my support system, which would include my family, my husband, my friends, who helped me through those days. This journey showed me how important it is to lean on others and to recognize that we're not alone and I kept my therapy sessions throughout the whole thing. Even if I couldn't talk for a long period of time, we had like a whole thing figured out on how we were going to still speak. Um, and I needed that because, like I said, there were moments where I want to say it's like the uncomfortable pieces of recovery. And you're just kind of like, okay, at this, can we get over it? Like the liquid diet, for example, even though that was 10 days, that was 10 long liquid days. That was hard because I've always been somebody, even with how I eat soup. I've always been somebody that needs to have some form of a texture with my liquid. So when I could only just drink liquids or eat liquids, oh, that was hard. That was the toughest. I don't want to say it's the toughest part, but it was I would say as a whole, the toughest part of recovery has been the food and diet because it affected so many things. First, it was okay, you have to eat based off of what is specific to the timeline. So, liquid diet and then soft food and then hard food and then crispier, harder foods would be further along the lines. But then on top of that, whatever you eat, affects your body. Okay, so now we're recovering, where we have to take a month off from work. I say we, but I'm just trying to give an example here. And now not as much movement as before because, we did a lot of hiking. And when I say we, I mean my family, we did a lot of hiking. And then I go from hiking to nothing and then nothing to eating soft foods. And soft foods usually I'm not saying you can't have healthy food, but the last thing you want is healthy food at some points. So it leans to gaining weight. And then unfortunately, I have struggled with an eating disorder in my past, and I do have body dysmorphia. So weight gain was a huge struggle. And all in this of just trying to follow the rules to recover, because if I don't recover, then I won't feel good. So it's like this whole wild ride and trying to stay afloat and not be so hard on myself. Um, and keeping my mental health in check because, um, emotionally, it is hard to accept, especially since um, eating disorders have a root of where they come from. And, there is a mental health aspect of body dysmorphia that is there. So having to face some of those struggles from a different perspective was also hard. Um, But I would say today when I look in the mirror, I don't just see physical changes. I see someone who chose to face the challenges head on. I see a version of myself who's more aligned with who I want to be. Um, but at the same time, I go through struggles on like I go back to the unfortunate aspect of body dysmorphia, and kind of like a almost like an identity crisis. And I know it sounds wild because even though I did get this major surgery, and even though for some that know me would say it's not really a huge change, others would disagree and highly say it's a huge change. Um, for me, it's a change regardless. It's a huge change. It's a mindset. It's like a lot of things that are coming to the front now because, before I was underweight, and I'm not saying I'm overweight, but now I have more weight, and I'm just saying more weight than underweight. Um, and now I'm learning how do I go about this new me, not just my face with new structure, because now everything is aligned. When you look at me from a side profile, everything's just beautifully where it needs to be. And before it wasn't. Embracing that person, but then also struggling with the changes that came from that surgery. It's been a lot and a huge adjustment. And I know that many people will say, you just have to feel beautiful in the skin that you have, or you have to feel beautiful with the parts of you that are imperfect, or, just in a general sense of seeing your worth in beauty. For me, I'm definitely putting in the effort. I'm not saying that I'm not, because, I am going to therapy. I am learning as to where the root cause of it is, why it's so serious for me. But it doesn't mean that it's not affecting me. And I do think that that is a huge reason as to why I've kind of stayed away from the podcast for a little bit, because I didn't know how to say, hey, do I look good? I think so. Do I feel good? Like, I feel like it's a little bit of a loaded question, um, but then to say I'm struggling again, that part's hard. I'm not doing the same things that I would do when I was as deeply rooted in my eating disorder. Like, I'm not withholding myself from food or anything like that. Not, oh well, I should say this, not as bad as it was. There are moments that I have. I shouldn't say that I haven't. There are definitely moments that I have, but not to the degree where it was so bad that, you know, I didn't think I had a problem. Um, but now it's just trying to embrace this person. And I know that it's not just going to be a physical thing that's going to make it feel better. I know that. I mean, I literally had jaw surgery, which, could be the most beautiful, aesthetically pleasing thing to have done for me, at least for how I felt about myself and my teeth and my look and everything like that. It has changed, but I'm still facing body dysmorphia. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how beautiful or whatever, I guess whatever you define that as. No matter what you do, it's also the soul, as Beyonce would say, that needs the surgery. And I know I've said this before, and I know like you'll go back into my previous episodes and you'll see that I constantly say like I need to get to that place. And I feel like each time I am getting into a better place, but it's like just getting closer and closer to the root of where it came from, and learning that I do have value and I do have worth, and it's beyond looks. It's everything, like the soul of Brie. So I decided to finally come out and share this piece of the transformation, because at first I was feeling shameful on it. And then I decided to write the blog and share a little bit on it. And then I thought, well, you have a podcast. You might as well use it. And that's kind of the point of the podcast, right? It was to call back power in all aspects of life. And even though I can't say that I fully have my power back, um, I can at least admit that I'm pulling my power closer to me. And hopefully sooner than later, I will be fully grasping it back. Um, this has been such a emotional journey, and I am very grateful and thankful for it. Um, and I'm thankful and grateful for everyone that has followed it, especially during these times of kind of ups and downs. And I appreciate everybody that has reached out and given me advice or kind words or even just relating to me and saying like I completely understand how you feel. Maybe not in the aspect of saying the surgery portion, but just feeling the body side of it. I do appreciate that because one thing that I have learned along this journey of life is that a lot of things we go through doesn't have to be something that you face alone. Even if they don't fully understand every single little detail of what you're going through, it doesn't mean that you have to go through it alone. And it is okay to share those pieces and vulnerabilities with people, even if you feel like you're going to get judged or shamed by it. It's important because there are people out there that are also in the same position in some manner, even if it's a little aspect of it. And sometimes people just need to hear that to know that they're not alone and that they have somebody else that maybe they can either reach out to or just know that, it's not a singled out, it's just happening to me. Because I think when you're in that mindset of it's just happening to me, that's where I feel like the thoughts and emotion and mental um anxiety portion of everything starts to kind of like take over. And that's where we get not very nice and it goes down a spiral of, the not so great things that you say to yourself because we are our own worst critics out of everybody. I mean, even your worst enemy cannot take you down like the inner critic. The inner critic is a nasty, nasty person. And what I've been trying to learn and I've been trying to do is not to hate the inner critic, not to be mad at the inner critic, but try to befriend her because at the end of the day, she is me. And I love her, but I need her to know that I love her. And sometimes I think I'd rather throw salt at her eyes. No, just kidding. But you know what I mean. I just think that a, there are a lot of good things that came from this surgery. And yes, I'm very happy. Many people have asked, how do you feel with your braces off? How do you feel with having this done? Like, it's a huge transformation. The ones that really know me, because those of you that don't, you'd be like, well, I mean, you don't really look that different. No, no, it's serious. It's a pretty serious transition. I do feel good. I do. At the end of the day, um, I'm just taking it day by day. But I do plan to come back. I know I always say that, and then I come back like 10 billion years later. But I do plan to come back because this is where I feel like it's a piece of me taking back my power is by sharing my voice, sharing a piece of Brie, as I would say. And it feels good when I speak it. So with that, you are loved, you are cherished, you are worthy, and I am proud of you. Until next time.